We spend our lives searching for it, writing songs about it, and pretty much building our entire worlds around it. But what is love, really? I mean, from a purely scientific point of view. Today, we're going to strip away the poetry and look at the powerful biology that's really pulling the strings. So what's actually going on in our brains when we fall head over heels? Let's find.
It's the ultimate question, isn't it? For centuries, we just left the answer to philosophers and poets. But in the last few decades, neuroscientists and anthropologists have been mapping the brain in love. And you know what? They've found some absolutely incredible answers.
So here's the big takeaway from all that research, especially from the groundbreaking anthropologist Helen Fisher. Love isn't this one single giant emotion. Nope, it's actually a combination of 3 different but totally connected brain systems that evolved for their own reasons.
And here they are: lust, attraction, and attachment. We're going to break down what each of these really means. But it's super important to remember this isn't always some neat 1, 2, 3 staircase. These systems can pop up in any order, in any combination, at any time. Everybody's journey is a little bit different.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the most basic, the most ancient of the 3, lust. This is the foundational, primal drive that, makes sure our species keeps going.
So in purely biological terms, lust is just that craving for sexual gratification. It's our libido, our sex drive. And from an evolutionary point of view, its purpose is crystal clear: get us motivated to pass on our genes. You can think of it as the biological starting gun for the whole process.
And where does this powerful command come from? Well, it starts deep in the brain, in this tiny but incredibly mighty little area called the hypothalamus. Seriously, think of it as the CEO of your body's most basic functions: hunger, thirst, sleep, and, yep, your sex drive. It's the one that gives the first order. So, how does that order get sent down the line? Well, the hypothalamus sends a signal to the pituitary gland, which is often called the master gland for a good reason. The pituitary then passes that message along to the testes and ovaries, basically telling them, hey, time to ramp up production of the sex hormones. It's this super efficient chain of command.
And here is a super fascinating detail. While we always think of estrogen as the female hormone, it's actually testosterone that's the main driver of libido in all sexes. That's right. Studies showed that if you boost someone's testosterone, their sex drive goes up, whether they're male or female. It's the universal fuel for lust.
Okay, so from that raw, primal drive, we move into something way more focused. Stage 2, attraction. Now, this is the stage most of us think of as falling in love. It's that intense, euphoric, can't eat, can't sleep honeymoon phase, where one person just becomes the absolute center of your universe.
Right? Lust can be kind of indiscriminate, but attraction is totally laser-focused. So why? Why do we zero in on one particular person out of a sea of millions? Well, the answer is in this mix of cues, some really obvious and some incredibly subtle.
So on one hand, you've got the conscious stuff you notice. We're drawn to physical attractiveness, which is basically our brain's way of spotting good health. We tend to like people who are physically near us a lot. That's the proximity principle. And of course, we connect with people who share our values. But then there's the subconscious stuff. Your body can literally smell genetic differences in a potential partner. A deeper voice can signal higher testosterone. We are picking up on signals we don't even know we're getting.
Okay, so the attraction is there. That switch has been flipped. And at this point, your brain gets completely drenched in this very specific, very high-powered cocktail of neurochemicals that just takes over. First up in the cocktail is dopamine. This is the classic neurotransmitter of reward and motivation. When you're with the person you're attracted to, or heck, even just thinking about them, you get a hit of dopamine. It feels amazing, and it makes you crave more, driving you to chase after that person like nothing else matters.
Next up is norepinephrine. This is where all that giddy, euphoric energy comes from. It's the reason your heart starts to race, your palms get sweaty, and why you might suddenly realize you can't sleep or even eat. It's pretty much your brain's version of a huge adrenaline rush.
And here is the absolute kicker for why you just can't get them out of your head. During this attraction phase, your brain's levels of another chemical, serotonin, actually drop. And you know what else is associated with low serotonin? Obsessive-compulsive disorder. This chemical drop is directly linked to those constant, intrusive, obsessive thoughts about your new love.
So when you put all of that together, the science is just undeniable. Brain scans, fMRIs, they show that the parts of the brain that light up during the attraction phase are the exact same regions that get activated by addictive drugs. So, in a very real, neurological sense, romantic love is a form of addiction.
And this chemical flood also perfectly explains that old saying, love is blind. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thought and good judgment, it basically goes quiet. It takes a little vacation. And at the same time, your amygdala, your brain's fear and threat detector, gets dampened. This is the science behind ignoring all those red flags that your friends can see so clearly.
But that intense, crazy, addictive phase, it can't last forever. If a relationship is going to go the distance, it has to transition into stage 3, attachment. This is that calm, comfortable, long-term bond that lets couples stay together for years, sometimes even decades.
But here's something wild. This kind of long-term bonding is surprisingly rare out there. In the entire animal kingdom, only about 5 to 10% of all mammal species form monogamous pair bonds like we do. So what makes this long-term thing so special for humans?
Well, from an evolutionary standpoint, pair bonding gave early humans a massive survival advantage. I mean, having two parents around dramatically increased a kid's chance of surviving. And frankly, it was just safer and way more efficient than constantly fighting and competing for new mates.
So this final stage is run by a whole different set of chemicals. Meet oxytocin and vasopressin, often called the cuddle hormones. Oxytocin gets released during touch, orgasm, and childbirth, and it creates these powerful feelings of bonding and trust. Vasopressin is also super critical for long-term commitment. A lot of what we know about it actually comes from studying these adorable little monogamous prairie voles who are just swimming in the stuff.
So after taking that whole journey through the brain, we can see this really clear biological blueprint for what we call love. It's not one feeling at all, but 3, each with its own purpose and each with its own chemical signature.
So let's just recap that blueprint one last time. It can start with lust, that primal drive for gratification powered by our sex hormones. That can evolve into attraction, where dopamine and norepinephrine create that intense, focused craving for just one person. And if it lasts, it can transform into attachment, a deep bond of comfort and security, all cemented by oxytocin and vasopressin.
Which leaves us with one final big question. Knowing that love is just a cascade of hormones and neurotransmitters, a biological process honed by millions of years of evolution, does that make it any less magical? Or does understanding its incredible, beautiful complexity actually make it that much more profound? Maybe knowing the why doesn't change the wonder of the who.